This is Erica interviewing Ilias in the 8th of May 2018. Ilias was born in Lamia, Greece in 1985. He migrated to Birmingham in 2009. Ilias, can you talk about where are your family from?
Hello. So my family all come from this little town. It's called Malesina in Greece. The closest, biggest town in Malesina is Lamia. So that's why I'm born in Lamia. That's where the hospital is and all of these things. Yeah, all my family lives in Malesina, and they're all happy. Well, my brother, only one of my brothers, lives in Athens with his family. I have three brothers. I'm the fourth one.
Can you describe your relationship with your family members?
I think our relationship is really, really good. I'm really good friend with all of my brothers and with my parents. We're actually having a really good time together when we get together. And yeah, my brothers are actually a really good friend of mine.
What have been your parents' work?
Well, my dad has done several things in the past. Ages ago, he was a fireman. He was doing a bit of farming. He was doing a bit of building. His main job, where actually he retired from, it's from this factory. It's called Larcom. It's this factory making nickel, and around my area, and the majority of the people actually work in this factory. So yeah, that's where he retired from that factory. He was just a labor there. And my mom used to own a little um, news agency thing, little mini market. And then she stopped, and then she was doing some stitching, making clothes, fixing clothes, and these kind of things. And then she just she has a few health problems, so she decided actually that she had to stop working. So she's been now 65 years old now or something, but she stopped working like a few years ago.
Okay, so where are you born and yes, I fast. Sorry, let me stop. Where have you grown up?
I grew up in Malesina, this little town. It's about an hour from Athens, north of Athens. It's by the coast, and it's a really, really beautiful place, which I appreciate more since I left. I left that place actually. Since I started living here, I appreciate more every time I go there how beautiful it is.
Why did you and your family move from Lamia to Malesina in Greece?
As I said earlier, they didn't move. They were always living in Malesina, but I'm talking about a 4,000 people village. So it's literally all know each other. So Lamia is the biggest city, is the nearest city to where they have hospitals and you can actually go and deliver a baby.
What was your favorite hobby?
Well, my favorite hobby, I don't know, for years my biggest love it was music. Obviously it used to be my hobby, but now it's my profession. um, Motorbikes used to be my hobby since I was very, very young. Since I was 12 years old, I had my first motorbike, I think. And I was doing some crazy things with a motorbike, going to the mountains, jumping, and doing all of these crazy things. I used to love it. But since I decided to become a musician, I thought like, oh, maybe it's not a good idea because I used to have accidents and hurting myself all the time, and then I couldn't do this and play music at the same time. So I stopped doing this, and then for years, I didn't really have any hobby. And the last year, I've been dancing, so I'm doing some dancing.
What dance do you do?
I do tap dance. So it's still percussive, it's still music, but yeah, I'm doing tap dance.
When did you decide to choose music as your career?
It's a very good question. Well, I've been playing music. I started playing when I was 15 or something. Before I played music, from the age of 7 until the age of 14, I was doing some dancing in Greece. I started when I was 6, 7 years old, and I was doing traditional Greek dancing. I wasn't really good, but it was good fun. I stopped. I left this, and then I started playing music. But at the same time, I was one of these good students in a very small school. So everybody was actually telling me that I have to focus in school and in education, as I did in a way. I didn't really play music until I was 21, and then there is an interesting story actually how I got involved into this. But when I was 21, kind of randomly, I wasn't unexpectedly better. I started doing lessons with one of my favorite drummers that time, like this guy, which he was my favorite drummer, and now he's a good friend of mine. And we had lessons together for 3 years, and this guy made me feel that yeah, it was to do music. So during those 3 years, I decided that I'm gonna finish my university, which I was studying there, computer engineering. So I thought I'm gonna take my degree in computer engineering, and then I will just go and do whatever I want. And that's how I did.
What was school like?
School was one of the best experiences in my life. Like I had an amazing childhood. My school is like it's one of these. Seriously, I'm without joking. It was one of these schools that you could easily have a TV show. You know what I mean? Like you can easily have cameras around and film what's happening during the school. And you could have it actually on TV, and people would laugh a lot about this. Yeah, school was amazing. It was amazing. I was really lucky to be in the same year in the same class with some of my very very favorite people, which were still actually really good friends. And yeah, I had a really good childhood.
How amazing was it?
Well, you know, it's one of these. Since even now we will actually meet up and we'll talk about things with my friends, my schoolmates, about you know, things that happen in school and stories, and we still laugh. And it's always will remember a new story which we haven't forgotten for a while, and we'll laugh like it was good fun. And to be honest, our parents helped a lot in all of these things. Our parents were actually all really, really cool people. You know, they had, even though they were actually people that they grew up in a small village in Athens, in Greece, so away from, you know, what we call modern civilization, but they still had um, pure thoughts and pure love about the kids and what's happening, and they were actually like supporting us, even if they wouldn't realize it. They were supporting us to have a really good actually life.
What are the differences between your education in Greece and Birmingham?
Well, I can talk about this for ages. Because I teach now. I'm an educator, and there are many things that I can see wrong in the education system everywhere, but both in Greece and England. The main thing I will say is that in Greece, apart of the fact that education is free, universities are free, which it should be everywhere. How do you call a country if you don't give them free health system and free education? You know, this is it's, I don't know, I find it a bit bizarre that you have to pay for your education. Anyway, the the main difference, I'm talking about high level education, university and above. The main difference is that in Greece, the first one, my school, for example, it was 4 years. The first 2 years we did a general education, and the last 2 years we did actually specifically on the subject I was studying. And all the schools, like 9 to 10 schools, the first 2 years probably they have the same lessons. Whatever you study, you will spend 2 years training yourself how to be academical, learning about general things, not just spend your time learning to be amazing on how to fix computers or how to do business, because education means many other things. So that's the main difference, that here the education is more focusing in a specific subject, while in Greece it goes a bit more general.
Sorry, can we pause? Tell me about everything before you moved to Birmingham.
Okay, everything before I moved to Birmingham. Wow, we need like, I don't know, 3 weeks maybe without sleeping. All right. So long story short, I grew up in this like little town with all the the goods and the bads, living in a small town. But as I said, we had a nice childhood. I don't complain. And yeah, it happened. I was a good student, so it's one of these things that when you are a good student in a very small school, in a very small village, everybody is looking after you, and everybody is like, oh, you have to go on and whatever. Excuse me. So I was, I had to focus on my studies, but at the same time I was loving the motorbikes. I was loving other things. Anyway, eventually we finished school. I finished school. I mean, we have primary, secondary school, high school. The high school is 3 years. It's equivalent to college here. So the last 3 years it was a bit actually stressful and difficult, because we wanted, all of my friends, we were playing a little bit of music, we were doing actually lots of different things. We wanted to have fun as like normal teenagers, but at the same time we had to go to school for 6 hours in the morning, and then we had another actually 5 hours extra tuition, like in a tuition center, to help us with the GCSE, like, which is actually the national exams in Greece. So it was a kind of, you had the school. Only with the school, unfortunately, the system is this way made, or actually only with the school you wouldn't really success for the national exams. You needed, like, the students needed like an extra education, extra help. So we reached that point, to be honest, and I'm not joking, that we were actually that good, me and 3-4 of my friends were actually that good in maths and physics, that we were correcting the teachers in school. We're actually being in really good level educationally, and the school wasn't helping us at all. So we had like many hours doing doing extra tuition. Anyway, this happened. The exams came. I got in computer science in Thessaloniki initially, the second biggest city in Athens. So I went to Thessaloniki. I went twice, once to register to the school, and I saw a few friends there and I had a good time. And then I went one more time to get an award that they gave me, because I was the one of the better students of my area, and they had a little club in Thessaloniki for those people from my area, kind of thing. Anyway, they gave me an award, so I went there the second time. And then I was following the same. There is a similar school in Athens, which, because I come from a family with more than 3 kids, then you have there, and because my 2 brothers, they were studying in Athens at the time, so I had the right to apply for to transfer, like, my register from Thessaloniki to Athens. So eventually, after like the first year, I didn't go to Thessaloniki. I registered there, but I was going to Athens, and then officially after like 8 months, I was a student in the University of Athens. This is how it works, like in Greece. Anyway, so my life in Athens, I was there 7 years. The first 3 years being a student, it's the only time in my life that I kind of regret at the moment. It's the only time in my life which I feel like what I was doing. Like I'm wondering like what I wasn't really doing anything. I wasn't really educating myself. I wasn't really learning anything new. Probably it was all the pressure, all of these years growing up, being like good student, and you have to do everything, and then you have to run around. So probably it was this like, I was taking a couple of years off, even though the system doesn't give you the option to take actually 2 years off. I couldn't actually pause my studies. I had to just be a student. And then you wake up one day and you are registered. You are into the third year and you have no idea what happened all of these years, and then you have to catch up and then you have to run. That's actually the whole thing. Anyway, so in Athens, I was living with my brothers. Somehow, with all my brothers, 4 of us in the same house, and surprisingly, it was pretty good. And then some of them, they grew up, they moved out, they went for the army because we have the national service there. So the last couple of years I was living on my own. And what else can I say from Athens? Yeah, the last 3 years. Well, after the 3 years I started studying. Well, I wasn't really doing anything. I was just being a young guy having fun. After that, I was playing a little bit of music. I was going in this conservatoire for a while, but I didn't have money. I couldn't afford it, and my parents wouldn't support me because it was ridiculous for them that I was studying computer science and I wanted to do music. They couldn't afford it. They didn't have money anyway to help me. They would help me with my studies. They didn't really have money to help me with the music school, so I couldn't do it. I couldn't have a drum kit in Athens. I couldn't play anywhere. I had a few people playing music. I was trying to enjoy myself, but I couldn't. And I reached this point where actually I was like, okay, now I'm gonna stop thinking about music, anything, and I'm gonna just try to sort my life out. Anyway, and that time, that girl I was seeing at the time, bless her, I hope she is well wherever she is. She knew who is my favorite drummer. This Greek guy called Michalis, and she found the music school in Athens where this guy is teaching, and she went there and she paid for the first month or something. She registered me actually. So they called me one day randomly to tell me, oh, you're Mr. Lindsay. We want actually to talk about the lessons with Kapelidis. And I was really shocked because I had no idea. Anyway, and eventually within a month, I'm taking lessons with one of my favorite drummers, and then I just found some money somehow, borrowed some money from other people, and then I went to buy a drum kit, and I had, after being spending a few months thinking I'm not gonna play music again, I end up having lessons in the best drummer schools in Athens, and having a drum kit in my flat and playing, and no one complained. I was like, oh yeah, that's amazing. Anyway, and then I found this band. It was a Doors tribute band actually, and we started playing around. And we had one of the nights we had the guitar player couldn't make it, so eventually we said, shall we do this gig? Shall we not? I don't know what's happening. And eventually, this guy who had the venue, he said, "Listen, you play, and I will bring some guitar players, I know all of these years, and they will jam on and Doors song. They know the Doors, whatever, they know the blues." Anyway, one of these guys, it was this guy called Andreas Gomosias, who just popped in that night. He came on the stage. He played like a couple of songs with us. You know, he's a bit older, and he's been playing the blues like in Greece, around Greece, for years and years. He's an amazing person, amazing musician. And after that night, he came. I wasn't really really good drummer, but he came and said, "Hey, Ilias, I need your number. Like, I might have a few gigs for you." And it was funny because I was 21 years old, very long dreadlocks, completely different with the 50, 60 years old blues guys that, you know, I eventually went to play with. So I started playing with him. I did a couple of gigs. And then I ended up playing with some of my, you know, my heroes when I was a child. Some people which like, I was like, wow. You know, I was going. He was calling me for a gig, and I had no idea. We never did a rehearsal. He was like, "You go there. You set up the drums, and I'll see you." And I would actually go there, and I didn't know who is playing the bass, who is playing the keyboards, who is playing. You know, I knew that Gomosias would be there, and whoever else. So I was going there, and a couple of these times, like this. He's 80 years old now. This is one of the biggest musicians, like in Greece, kind of thing. He came one night, and I saw him, and I was like, "Wow, I'm gonna play with him now." You know, it was quite mad. Anyway, so all of this happens, like, you know, all of these years, and after the 2 years, I was studying music and computer science at the same time. I thought, you know, I had lots of conversation with my drum teacher, and this guy Gomosias, my friend Paul Karapiperis, amazing musician. All of these guys, they changed a lot the way I see things. And so I thought, you know something, I will try and do it like properly. So I thought, okay, what shall I do then? Okay, let's go somewhere. Maybe I have to leave Greece, because I end up spending 2-3 hours in a very, very small room, playing the drums every day with 40 degrees, and all of my friends in the beach drinking cocktails, you know what I mean? So it was something which I was like, you know something, if I really want to dedicate and do it, I have to find a cold place where actually it's raining, and I have more reasons to stay in and do music, you know? Literally, it sounds funny, but this is like how I thought at the time. So, and I was like, what's the plan? Okay, so I had 2 years, I thought, I will leave. I'll try to finish my school, and to finish my the university there, so I can go, and then my parents will be okay. Because if I leave without finishing my university, my parents will be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Anyway, so I spent 2 years. My whole university had 44 or 46 modules, like you have to pass. The last 2 years, I passed 35 of them in 2 years. Yeah, so I finished the school after 6 years. I was registered. I finished the school officially after 9 years. I was registered. But in Greece, you can be registered. You don't have to go. You can just go and join the exams. You know, it's quite difficult, because I was doing robotic and things, like it's not possible to just read a book and just go and, you know what I mean, and do successfully. You know, it was really difficult. Anyway, I managed somehow to to pass most of the modules the last 2 years. This guy, who randomly, he had the reputation that he's not a really good professor, like in the university, and he gave me a really, really easy thesis. Like, my dissertation actually was about music, digital music. He said, listen, he knew that I play music. He knew how, like, you know, my passion and stuff. And he's like, literally, he said, you pick up a subject. So my presentation, it was like, it could be me working like onto networks or anything for ages, for years. It could be really hard. The guy gave me the chance, like, you do it. I did my dissertation within a month, all in digital music and how technology affected music through the years. And I went through everything, like the last like 100 years or more. Anyway, and I did this. So September 2009, and I was actually I was leaving my house in Greece, and I was getting ready in October 2009 to just move to England without having any plan really, just just thinking, okay, that's my time. That time I hadn't finished the university in Greece. I had like 5 modules like I had to pass, which I went through. I was living here, and then I was going in February or in June or September, and I would join the exams, and eventually like I finished it. It's a funny thing because like I was always positive and always wanted to do things, but music literally affect my life in a very actually in a very big scale, in a way that 3 of the most like bad kind of thing professors in my university, they were actually the people that they helped me the most like to finish my degree, only because they had a huge passion about music, and they since they found out that I play music and I want to go abroad to do music and all those kind of things. They were loving it. They would do everything they could to help me. Anyway, that's more or less the story. There are a couple of other actually bits I could I could mention. It's probably it would be interesting to mention that one of my friends that time I was hanging out in Athens. This guy is he lives in London now, and he moved to Surrey to to study, to do a PhD or a master or something, and then I went to Surrey in 2008. That was my first trip abroad, away. I think I was 23 years old. That was the first time I left Greece, and I couldn't speak English. That was the first time I felt a bit bad because why I cannot speak English. Before I wasn't really like I was bothered, but then I was like, wow. And then I came here. I visited London. I mean, for 11, 12 days, and I had a really nice time. I saw so many people from so many other countries which I hadn't met before, and I thought, wow, like there are people around, man. There are things happening. What am I doing? What I'd never thought about, like leaving Greece or going. I never thought even like just going holidays, because you think, oh, I can't afford or anything. But then you realize that it's easy to go everywhere. If you wanna go, you can go everywhere, Anyway, well, unfortunately, not everywhere, but yeah, but that's a different thing. Anyway, so I went to visit him, and then I came back. It was end of November, beginning of December. I came back and I had a really good time, and I was buzzing. I was thinking, oh, that was amazing. Like, I need to learn English. I need to actually do things. And then my friend who was living in London, he called me around Christmas. He's like, I'm in Greece for a few days. I'm like, yeah, wicked. We're going out. We're having a good time. And I meet this girl who lives in Spain. And she's like, I'm here for a few days. I'm going to Spain. He's like, come and visit me. And I'm like, I had no idea, I had no money, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, I couldn't speak English or anything. And I end up I'm like, okay, yeah, go on then. And I went to Spain for a couple of weeks, randomly. I don't know how I reached Spain. It's very funny because my brother is dropping me to the airport, and he's like, do you know any Spanish? No. Do you know Spanish people? They don't speak English, or anything. Well, I said I don't speak English well anyway. And it's like, what are you gonna do? And he was just giving me a few words, buy billetes, the tickets, and autobus and all of these kind of things, write it down, few letters, And eventually, I got lost in Barcelona. And I met some other people. I went I reached Valencia, and I found this little place called Cuenca, very small villa. That's where this girl was living. So I stayed there. Like it was in the March time. In Valencia they have the Fallas, a big, huge festival happening a whole month. So we went to see the Fallas. We slept in the Valencia beach for a night, and it was again like that was like one of the most important moments of my life, because I was there in the little beach, and we have like, we're actually 10 of us. Like, is this like person from Australia, from Africa, from Asia, from like South America, and I'm there, and I'm literally buzzing. I'm like, wow, this is real, man. This is reality. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have this experience before of actually hanging out with people from other countries. So on the plane back from Spain, I decided to move somewhere. That was literally when I decided. It was March. I came back. I said to all of my friends and my parents, in September, end of September, I'm leaving my house. October, I'm moving away. No one believed me. No one believed me. Like my parents, they thought that I was joking. And then in September, I'm leaving my house, and everybody's like, "Wow, so is it happening then?" I'm like, "Yes." I'm going. Where you gonna go? I have no idea. In the beginning, I will go to Birmingham, and the plan was to see what's happening around England, mainly to see what's happening around Netherlands. The plan was to go to England, learn some English, and maybe go to Netherlands, because they had a couple of nice music schools that I was thinking of going. And it's like, and some people are telling, why not London? I'm like, well, London is too big, like I would get lost. It would be too expensive or anything. So I will go to Birmingham, where actually I can survive, easily. And then, of course, very important that a good friend of mine has a cousin who lives here. His name is Petros. He lives here for 30 years now, maybe a little bit more. And he comes from the same village with me. I met him here, but he comes from the same hometown. And it's like my big brother now. I don't see him that often, but he's there for me all the time, and he's a lovely person. He helped me. He taught me lots of things without really saying anything. He taught me lots of things with his behavior when I moved here. Anyway, so and because he lives in Birmingham, I thought like Birmingham would be easier option, because at least I know someone there. Anyway, so yeah, I came to Birmingham in October 2009, and the rest is history. So,
Can we rest?
yeah. Can I have something to put us? Yeah.
Can you share us your journey to Birmingham?
My journey to Birmingham. Well, so we have this. The days here, I have this huge suitcase that my mom has like bring it out. Mom is almost in tears. She's like, it's a bit soaked, a bit like things that, yeah, he will go and he will come back in a month or something, and then like, but at the same time feeling a bit like, wow, like, so I'm putting things in. My mom put even actually a little like Christian, like, thing to, like, a few things to look after me, kind of thing, religious. And she was actually doing like praise, and like she was almost in tears, telling me like, yeah, whatever. I had like this huge suitcase. I still have it somewhere, and I put lots of things in. I had no idea like where I'm going and what I'm doing. So I just brought lots of things, which probably I could buy them like much easier. Anyway, so I'm there. I'm arriving to London. I'm staying in London for 3-4 days with my friend who is living there, and then I moved to Birmingham. My friend Petros, that time I didn't know him. He comes to pick me up from the train station. He sees this like guy with the long dreadlocks, so he's like, "Wow!" Like I wasn't expecting that, and he's picking me up, and he said, "We'll go into my house," and then we, we'll talk about things and stuff. So I don't know Petros. but we have a nice chat, and we became friends like really, really quickly. And he was actually the one that it was really, really useful because to stay with him I stayed with him the first 3 weeks until I found the house, and it was really useful because this guy, it's he came here ages ago. He's been to England 30 years in Birmingham, and it's one of these guys that he will never like talk Greek in front of anyone who doesn't understand. Like it's one of these guys that even though I was struggling with my English, in the supermarket he wouldn't talk to me in Greek. He would talk to me in English, and all of these things it make me have a bit more respect and also learn English faster. I started doing the same. Even now, when I have actually friends that can speak another language together, if someone around doesn't understand, I would prefer not to. I would prefer to speak in English. And that's actually has helped my English all of this time because I picked up English like mostly on the road also. Anyway, so yeah, I'm arriving to Petros picking me up, go to his house, and I stayed there for about like 3 weeks until I found my first apartment behind Broad Street. But then I can say a few things about my first year here. So I found this share house. All of this completely new for me. It sounds a bit, it might sound a bit strange, but it's not very common. The last like few years, it's quite common in Greece that people traveling abroad. It wasn't common that time. It wasn't common. Like I knew very few people that they have been abroad, like somehow, and I didn't know anyone who was living abroad. Probably I knew 1-2 people, So all of this was really new for me. I had no idea where I'm going, or what's happening. Anyway, including that in Greece, unfortunately, we haven't get used of living with other people. I remember the last year I was living in Athens. We had a like three-bedroom house for myself. Because my brother would come in once a while. But it's one of these things that I was thinking, why? Like, we're actually like 3 people who have in a house and share it and just live like nicely. Anyway, so I'm in a share like house like I'm there with where 6 people. It's me and 5 people. So that was quite new, but quite exciting for me. I'm there. I'm bringing a few instruments from Greece. I'm living like a couple of months. I went to Greece, and I came back. I brought a couple of things, I think. And one day I was practicing a bit of drums, and the door opens in my room, and this crazy Irish guy is like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Whoa, who are you, dude?" And I couldn't actually understand him, like the way he's talking and whatever. Anyway, he explains me that he works in the house. He does he fixes things, whatever. And he plays guitar. And he said many things. I didn't understand anything. I understand something about 7 o'clock. So I'm like, this guy is gonna do something 7 o'clock. I don't know what it's gonna be. I was like, yeah, wicked, yeah, cool. So this guy is coming 7 o'clock to pick me up to go. I have no idea where. Has a very dodgy car, very actually dirty. He goes fast. I'm getting in. This crazy guy. I have no idea where I'm going, and he takes me to the studio, and I meet. He's like, we went to the studio. I'm like, wow, it's the Rich Beach studio. It doesn't exist anymore. It used to be in Selyoak, one of the historical studios in Birmingham. So I'm there and I'm like, wow, this is cool. And we're meeting his band called the Cracked Actors. They keep going on for ages. And that man is Johnny Too Bad, who is he's been one of my lovely friends for ages. He took me there. That was actually less than 2 months I was here, and he took me to the studio. I met the other guys. We had a little bit of jam, and then he dropped me back home. He said something about Sunday 5. That's for me. That was actually I wouldn't understand everything. I would just say yes to everything. You know what I mean? something Sunday 5. I'm like, yeah, cool. So Sunday he comes and pick me up at 5 again. We're going to his house. He said, "Oh, you take this, you take this." He give me a couple of percussions, and he start playing some of his songs, and I'm just following. And he's like, "Let's go now down the pub and play a gig." So we're actually going down the pub. We play a gig. That was my first gig actually going on here. So I was like, and I met other people, other musicians, and I met other people, and I was like, "Oh, that's really, really cool." And then that was like within like a couple of months. And then I'm one night at the Yardbird Jazz Club. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore, but one of the favorite places, like for lots of people I know. And I was just sitting there with a friend, and then this guy comes. He's completely drunk. He's bald, and he just telling me, "Man, well done, really good set earlier." And I'm just trying to tell him that I don't know what you mean, but I didn't play tonight. No, it was you. I saw you playing. I got, all of this communication really difficult because I wouldn't speak English very well, very, very basic. And if you speak really, actually slow. So, third question is like, where you come from? I'm like, I'm from Greece. And he's just telling me like a few Greek, and he's just telling me about anarchism in Greece and other actually movements. And he's just talking like all together. He's been drunk. It's for me, obviously I had dreadlocks, and because of the dreadlocks, he saw another guy with dreadlocks playing, and he thought it was me. That's why he came to talk to me. But he ended up talking to me about whatever, about anarchism, about football teams in Greece, about Manu Chao, but it was all a bit political. And for me, I had no idea. So it's this guy there who is being, he's skinhead, and he talks to me about politics, in randomly, and he's being completely drunk, and I'm a guy, with dreads and stuff. So I was thinking, I don't know what's happening, So I don't know what the guy was was really believing this thing, or he was trying actually to trap me, or Anyway, so I was a bit scared, to be honest, and then this guy has been completely drunk. He's been loud. He's been whatever, and he's raising his spine somehow. He says, "Yamas," raising his spine, and when he comes down, the pine is full of blood. His nose is bleeding, and I'm like, "Wow, dude, are you okay, man?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Oh, I'm fine." And he runs to the toilet, and I'm like, "I'm ready to go. I'm ready to leave." And his friend comes, which is like this this guy like from I think he had like Asian roots or something, which is the first thing that his friend, he was in English, so it make me feel like, oh yeah, this guy is not like whatever, like extreme right guy. He's normal. He's just being drunk. Anyway, but his friend is coming, and he's like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Oh, his nose start bleeding or anything," and he takes the blood from the glass and he licks it, and I'm like, "Oh, I have to go. I'm scared." So I'm starting up. I'm taking my stuff, and I have to go. The guy is coming back from the toilet, and he's like, "Where you going, man?" And I'm like, I have to go. So he's like, "Give me your number." He said, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going." He said, "You sure you didn't play tonight?" "Dude, I didn't play tonight." And he said, I said, "I played music randomly, but I didn't play tonight." "What do you play?" I played drums, and I was going the same time I was leaving the place. "We're looking for a drummer. Give me your number. We're looking for a drummer. We're going actually, we have a studio, we have a drum kit, we have everything you need." And I'm like, this is bizarre. Someone was leaking his blood 2 seconds ago. So I'm like, I don't know, man. He's like, "Hey, give me your number." So I give him my number. I'm like, why not? Who knows? He calls me in 2 weeks, and it's like, we arrange eventually to go on a Wednesday night to go in Selyog in the studio they have. I'm very scared because I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what people I'm going to meet. But I was thinking, why not? So I'm going there. In Seliog, and this Seliog, the studio, we used to call it the tool shop records, because it was above the tool shop. And my friend was living there, my friend Richie, who is from Canada, and he was living there, working in the tool shop. They gave him the whole house so he can look after the stock and all this kind of thing. Anyway, I'm reaching Seliog. I'm meeting those two guys. That guy was really drunk. Tim is his name. Tim Bodfield, one of my favorite people at the moment. And then Benji, he's like, they're waiting for me to pick me up. We taken, they said, yeah, come this way. They look actually okay. He doesn't look drunk. That guy Tim is like, he looks like normal. I'm like, okay, yeah. And we walk this dark alley. And we get this building opening like these weird doors, going through this stock full of tools and things and like chainsaws and stuff. And I'm seriously like panicking. I'm like, where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? And we're going upstairs. We're going this little, without light, without like anything. We're walking this like building. I have no idea. Walking this, and we go upstairs, and then I can see like a place and a studio, and I was like, wow. Anyway, and that was my first band, like my first actual band, Mr. Shankly. And yeah, we played like with the guys like for like 4 or 5 years. Had some amazing times, and those people actually like some of my best friends. And especially with Tim, we still play music together. We do traditional kind of bass music. I play bouzouki, he plays mandolin, and we do actually some like interesting things. So yeah, all of this happening within 6 months. My third band, it was this guy who is coming. It was at the Yardbird again, empty. I was just sitting on the sofa, and I was sitting on someone's jacket. So this guy is coming to pick up his jacket, and it's like, oh, I'm like, I'm sorry, yeah, take it. And then he's like, where do you come from? I come from Greece. He's like, oh yeah, I come from Greece as well. Like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I just came, like, whatever. And it's like, oh, I have a band, I'm looking for a percussionist. I'm like, you're kidding me? Like, yeah, let's try. So I started playing with this band as well. It's called Fruta Loca, and it was actually a really, really good project. We had some amazing, like, times and stuff. Anyway, after like 8 months I've been here, I've been playing with 2 different bands and some other people. I've been knowing lots of people, and so I'm thinking, why is that, I don't want to live now. I mean, it looks nice here, so why to leave to go to Netherlands or somewhere to study? I'm gonna just stay here. So I went to the conservatoire. I did a little pre-audition. They said, we won't take you because jazz enough. So it was fine, to be honest. Like, that time I had no idea about jazz, and the drum course is full of jazz. So the guy suggested me, come back next year, go practice these things, come back next year, and then we'll see. Anyway, but I couldn't wait for a year. So then I went to the Academy of Music and Sound, which is behind Snow Hill Station. Now it's called Academy of Contemporary Music. I'm going to AMS, and I have to say that the course I did, the whole school, it could be much better in many ways. The whole school, it could be like, the level could be better, or the equipment would be better. But the environment and the people, it was like, felt really, really lucky, because they all looked after me big time. And I was the only foreign person there. And the next year, another guy came from Greece as well. But I was the only foreign person there, and they all helped me the most they could. So 2 years I was studying there, and they were actually giving me, I could use the place anytime. Even after I graduate, like for the next 2 years, I was going there to teach. Sometimes they wouldn't even charge me for a room for the thing. Sometimes they would give me a student. They would ask me to help with the courses. I would go there and use the room without being a student there, without anything. I would just go there anytime, use the studio. I recorded my second album there, like fully, just like, using the facilities without asking, I was asking, but without any problems or anything. So yeah, I did this school from 2010 until 2012. I finished, and then for the next year I did an online teaching course called Petals, just to to get an idea, to get a teaching qualification, and and more or less that's it. Well, that was the first 3 years when I moved here, and then I graduate, I finished everything. I was so tired of studying anyway, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna just see what's happening now, and I've had enough of education. I don't want to learn more. I know enough now. So anyway, I started playing with people, and every year is getting better and better. I don't know why, I don't know how, but every year is getting better and better. I'm loving it like big time. I'm having the time of my life, like I could say, with the up and downs, like lots of downs as well. It's a very difficult job being a musician, but being a musician coming from Greece, where a musician there means that is it could mean from a homeless to a junkie to anything. Saying in Greece I'm a musician means that you're someone starving, you have no money, you know what I mean? So it's very difficult to accept. It took my parents 3 years. The third year I sold my motorbike when I was in Athens, and I bought a bicycle, and I paid for the last year of my music school. And that was the moment for my dad to think that this guy, he will do music, whatever we say, whatever we do, this guy wants to do it, you know what I mean? Because they know my passion about motorbikes since I was like 12, you know what I mean? So all of these years I was changing motorbike, I always had motorbikes. I was working during the summer just to buy a new motorbike or something. I was, buying like clothing and like all of these kind of things. And then I'm selling my motorbike to pay for the school. I paid for the school, I bought a drum kit, and I bought a bicycle. And my parents actually, wow, that's like mad, you know what I mean? Anyway, and my brother, my third brother, who is one of my best friends as well, he gave me a motorbike for free. He's like, I can't accept that my brother is just riding a bicycle. Like, I'll give him a motorbike. So he gave a motorbike, who he got it really cheap from one of his friends, and then he's like, just gave me this motorbike. Anyway, but what I was saying is that I feel lucky that I can do music, like especially in England, because here, not for everyone, but the majority of people, musician is a kind of scientist, where actually in other countries, unfortunately, is not happening.
What are the differences between your hometown and Birmingham?
Well, difference between hometown and Birmingham. Well, Birmingham is like, with all the urbans and everything, it's about 3 million, where my hometown is like, with everything around, it's like 4,100 people. So, we're talking about a very small village. There are many differences. One of the main ones is probably the fact that there is no sea. So I grew up next to the sea. I get used to actually being around the sea, around the water. And now in Birmingham, I'm not. We have lots of canals, which is nice, but it's not the same. You don't smell the sea. You don't feel the same. That's the main difference, together with like being a crowded place. But when I moved to Birmingham, I moved from Athens, so I was get used of living in a place with like 6 million people, all jam packed like one on the other. So I got used of actually living in a small city. Anyway, and Birmingham has actually both of my. It's a combination of Athens and my village. It's a big city, but it's a village as well. In Birmingham, I know so many people. I know that I can go. I can see people randomly on the road quite often, which is not happening in huge towns. Anyway, that's one of the differences. There are many differences actually. Like, for example, here I discovered like Indian food. I discovered like all of this amazing food that comes from everywhere. Which actually in Greece you don't really like You don't read anything else apart of Greek food, and Mediterranean food, maybe Turkish food, because like lots of food has influences from Turkey, from Asia, or from North Africa. Anyway, but food is different. The way like the people I hang out with, like I love the fact that I hang out with people from all over the world, So that's something makes me feel amazing, makes me feel really lucky. So those are actually the difference. There are, the main thing is there is no sea, and the main thing I miss, like from Greece in general, I would say. People say, "Oh, the weather or anything." The weather is alright if you do what you love. You enjoy. You can find a way to cope with this. They say it's not Monday who is bad. It's your job that sucks. If you do an amazing job, you're looking forward for the Monday. Anyway, but the what I miss the most about the weather, it's the fact that in Greece, if I say to my friends, guys, can we have a barbecue in 3.5 weeks that day? And we all say yes. Yeah, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. We don't have to wait last minute to see how the weather will be like. Can we go for a weekend like in 3 months? Can we go in a weekend there? Yeah, it's going to happen because we won't wake up that day and be completely rainy or snowing or anything. That's the thing. Like, the way actually how you can plan, you can make your plans and stuff is quite different with the weather-wise. And of course, the fact that when you wake up in Greece, it's it's bright and sunny, so it makes you feel it makes you feel relaxed. It's the same like every time we have some good days here in England, everybody's so relaxed, everybody looks so happy, and everybody's want to go out. So it's the same, and I guess that's why Greece going through all of these financial problems at the moment. I think the weather, and of course the mentality of the people, but mainly the weather, it keeps us actually like together in a way. It keeps the whole thing positive.
What is your first impression to Birmingham?
I don't know. That's a very good question, because everyone he was talking about Birmingham, he was talking about a place full of factories and industries that is full of smoke, and it's not pretty at all. So I came here and I was expecting to see an industrial place, and then I realized that okay, it used to be an industrial place like 20 years ago, 50 years ago, I don't know, like for ages, but it's not. The last years it's not, And so I was a bit like, I was expecting something else, and then I saw something else which is quite nice. And then, yeah, I think I quite like Birmingham. I quite like Birmingham. I can see a few things that they could be different, but in general, I think it's a nice city. It's not that pretty, but there is something pretty about like the the cultures and the people they live here, and they have had actually to some things around the town. You can see the Asian elements of the whole city. You can see the Jamaican. You can see a mix of cultures. It's quite obvious in buildings, in many things. So that's actually that's something quite. I was a bit impressed when I moved here.
What are your dreams and goals in the future?
Well, I have lots of goals. My main goal, since I moved here, since I was young, it was to be the best drummer ever. Which, like, realistically, it might not happen. Probably won't happen. But I hope that my goal will always be the same. Like, even when I reach like 80, 90 years old, I still hope that I will still believe that I will be the best drummer ever, because that gave me all of this positivity and all the spirit actually to keep going so far. So, well, my realistic goal in general is this year I'm making a little musical play, which I'm going to put it on in the theater, and that's one of my dreams I had when I was actually young, to put on a little show. So this is happening now. Hopefully, it will be on in October, and I play more gigs, share my music with more people, and meet other people, educate myself as much as I can, try to be healthy, and try to be positive and loving as more as I can.
So what does it mean to be a Brahmi?
What does it mean to be a Brahmi? I don't know. What does it mean? It's a nice feeling. I love living in Brahm. I love to know many. I love the fact that I know so many Brahmis. Most of my friends, they come also like from Dudley and Tipton and all of these areas. So it's like more yum, and it's I love it, and I don't know, how does it feel? It feels quite nice. It feels quite nice. I can see some connections with my childhood, I think, in a weird way.
If you could travel back in time, what would you say to the 24-year-old you?
I would say, why it took me that long, man? Why it took me that long? Well, it's never too late. But I think traveling should be a main part of education. Every young person should force to travel, force in a nice way. Like, we should travel, reading can kill fascism, and traveling can kill racism. When we realize that, we'll actually make things better for everyone. It's just simple like that. So when I was going back, if I was going back to talk to my 24 years old myself, I would say, good luck, and just do the same mistakes and the same rides. You know what I mean? Like, don't be afraid to do mistakes. Like, that's the main thing. And somehow I wasn't afraid. Now I'm growing up, I'm more afraid. But at the time I wasn't afraid, and that's a very, very important thing. Yeah. So I would say to everyone who is around that age, like, just go living abroad, not only traveling, living for even for a few months to another country can change your perspective in many, many, many things, in a better way, of course.
So can you tell me what you think the impact of this project could be?
Well, this project will be a positive thing to see that, it's there are many different kind of like lots of different reasons why someone is moving away, yeah. And we live in a very strange world at the moment. We talk about like how you can travel from England to New York in 3 hours. You talk about like all of these things, how you can buy the new like phone that made in China, the new like clothes that made in wherever. I mean, you talk about materialism that made from other people somewhere else, and then like there are lots of people that they're afraid of like of the what they think is the unknown. What's unknown? Like, it's not unknown. Just you have all the information in front of you to go and find out what's happening. So the impact of this project will be for people to realize that immigration, it doesn't necessarily mean that I wanna go and steal someone else's job in another country because I wanna make money and I wanna become rich on behalf of someone. No, it's nothing like this. Immigration means that we live in a world where actually we have the chance and we have the opportunity to travel easily around and to go and live around and adapt in this environment. And that's an amazing thing, and I hope that more people that they see this project realize that it's a natural thing. Like, immigration is a very, very natural thing. Like, if you see historically, all countries, they've been immigrating like all the time. You know what I mean? The water is moving around the earth. Like, the birds are traveling, the animals. Like, it's a natural, completely natural thing. People doing and forever, and they will keep doing. I mean, the thing is like how we will react and how actually positive will be the whole thing, and how we will help the people that they unfortunately have to leave the house because someone forced them. Because I was one of the lucky guys that I came here because I wanted to see something new, to an adventure. Unfortunately, there are families, like people that they have, like they have to look after other people, and they kicked out of their houses, and they have to actually go and survive somewhere else. We have to realize that this is happening, and it's gonna happen forever. All we can do is just make it easier and more possible for everyone, to achieve what they're going to achieve. So I think that the impact of this project will be actually this, to see lots of different cases and to make people aware and to make people think that this person that has been, this person Ilias has been living there for ages, and he reacts like a Brahmi or whatever. He once was, from another country and just moved here and, and adapted and he lived here, and everything is happy, All right, I want to say something else. Like, coming from Greece, Greece is a very interesting place in many ways. Not about like the philosophy and all of this mythology, whatever, which is of course very important, and and the European civilization is based on the Greek civilization. But the thing is, the more important thing from Greece is the geographically where it is. Greece was always the point where all the known world that time, from Asia, Africa, and Europe, it was meeting up to do some trades. All the traders from Asia, they were bringing the spices to sell them to other people in Africa, whatever. People, they've been living in Greece. They've been actually people from Asia, Africa, and Europe. They've been meeting in Greece for years and years and years. Whoever tells me now that we are, for example, my country is like, it's one nation, it's a joke, It's a joke. Like, people, they've been living there forever. I can show you friends of mine that they could easily be from Africa or from Asia or from anywhere, We are all mixed. There is no the idea of like one nation or anything, We are all the same, like a mix of everything, and that's amazing. That's really, really nice, because you get like characteristics from actually different people. Anyway, so Greece geographically has been the spot for this, and the same with with all of the countries. And we live in a world where actually we talk about globalization, we talk about all of these kind of things, but then we react in a very anti-globalized way, or we actually, how can I say it? Actually, I am not expressing really well, but we spend so much time. We spend so much time in uniting the world, and then the same time we spend so much time making clear that we're all different. It's a very strange thing of happening through the media and through the whole actually system we live in. You do everything for the peace, and you have war everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like all the European countries, like we now live in a world where actually like Greece is suffering financially. And most of the money that they send for a bailout, it comes in guns. They give us guns. We do everything for the peace by actually fighting each other and buy guns and just like be afraid. We want this peace. We're being afraid of each other, but at the same time we invest everything to live peacefully. Like, no, we shouldn't be afraid. That's the main key. We shouldn't be afraid of each other. We shouldn't be afraid of anything. We shouldn't be afraid of going and living everywhere. And the last thing I want to say, to just finish, is that a mistake that lots of immigrants do. And that's what I keep saying to everyone. Lots of people, for example, from Greece, I will talk about Greek people, as I know, without blame anyone. I don't blame anyone, and I don't think that I did things better or whatever. I'm just saying a fact. The fact is that there are people that they're moving to another country, and I'm talking about mainly the people that they didn't really want to move, but they had to find a job or something, and they moved to England. And they, after being a couple of years here, they complaining about the weather, about they close the bars very early, they do this thing, they do this, they do this, they do this. What I'm saying to everyone is that if you're gonna live happy with the environment where you are, you have to adapt into the environment. You know, you cannot live as a Greek person in England. You cannot live as an English person in Spain. You cannot live as a whatever in anywhere else, you know, because the environment is different, the weather is different, everything's actually different. If you really want to actually have a good life where you're going, try to adapt and live the same way that people they are from this country live. Like, don't go out that late, go out like earlier, so you know, so the bars eventually they don't close very early, you know what I mean? So don't, you know, you have to change, you have to adapt and do other things because of the weather. You have to just live as it is. Unfortunately, people they tend to having to leave their own country because the culture there and the society kick them out, and they come here and they build exactly the same society that eventually kick them out of their countries. And that's the problem. I can see, like, you know, Greek people that they've been more about, you know, the Greek nation and how actually amazing it is, like, and they do exactly the same things. They think that the jokes is the jokes they do is the only amazing jokes around. Like, people they don't understand how funny they are. People they don't understand how cool they are, how whatever. Like, no. I'm like, for me, I think this is a big mistake. Don't try to build a society exactly the same like the society which eventually kicked you out of your own country, you know. And that's a mistake I think people do in general, you know. They make a very traditional based society, very traditional of how exactly it goes, like, you know, back there, you know, back in their country, and then they just end up like in the same environment that eventually, you know, it became what it made them, you know, to get away with it. So again, I might just messed a few things around, but hopefully you got what I was trying to say.
And can I just ask you to say children and movement in Greek?
Children and movement. Well, I don't know what's the actual translation of this. Παιδιά σε κίνηση. It would be one of the translation. So yeah, save the kids, man. Protect the kids. You know, παιδιά. Παιδιά is the kids in Greek, and παιδεία is the education. So it's the same word, different accent. Παιδιά and παιδεία. You know, it's those two more important things, I think. Like, we need to save the kids, and we need to educate the kids, and to educate ourselves, and we need to be ready to change ourselves every time. No one will come and save us. If we want things to change, we have to start from us. Otherwise, it won't happen. And no, it's never one person who will come one day and save you. No, unfortunately, no. It's all of us together, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.